Hello and welcome to Fanboy Explosion. I am Seth.
And I'm Cameron.
And this is the first ever episode of the Fanboy Explosion podcast proper. Now you're like, wait a second, hold on. You've been doing this stuff for like months. Like, what's going on? What do you mean first episode? Well, we found patterns in what we were doing. We found that the patch notes were getting pretty busy. We were talking about a lot of stuff. So we decided that we're going to do the Fanboy Explosion podcast every week on Tuesday. If you listen on iTunes, you're going to be able to listen to the entire thing. We're going to basically go over 3 topics every week. If you listen through iTunes, you'll get them all on Tuesday, ready to rock and roll. If you listen through YouTube, they'll actually go up on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, respectively. So you'll have stuff to watch all week long. But so for our first ever topic, to get us kicked off, we're going to be talking about video game consoles, specifically the current gen video game consoles. Nielsen did a study recently to try and figure out why people buy the consoles that they do. They looked at PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U, and they came up with a list of top 5 reasons. They asked people, which of the following are the main reasons you purchased them, and these are the top 5. So I'm going to go through them right now so we can kind of know what we're talking about, and then we're going to dive into each one individually. So, Sony PlayStation 4. Number 1 reason, better resolution. Number 2, Blu-ray player. Number 3, the game library. Number 4, faster processing power. Number 5, that's what the family wanted. For Xbox One, the number 1 reason was the brand, Xbox brand. Number 2 is innovative features. Number 3 is faster processing power. Number 4 is exclusive games and exclusive content. Number 5 is fun factor, whatever that means.
Fun factor.
Over on the Wii U, number 1 is fun factor, whatever that means. Number 2 is better for kids. Shout out to the Wii on that. Number 3 is price/value. Number 4 is backwards compatibility. And number 5 is exclusive games and exclusive content. So let's break these down individually. Cameron, I want to get your view on this. Let's start with our home console, the Microsoft Xbox One. Number 1 reason, brand.
The power of the branding.
Do you think that hashtag brand is what sells Microsoft Xbox Ones the most?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what we're defining like brand as, but when I bought my Xbox, I mean, part of the reason I bought my Xbox is, as dumb as it sounds, is that I already have my Xbox Live gamer tag that has a shit ton of those, nebulous gamer points that don't do anything and are ultimately pointless, but at the same time, I have 75,000 of them. It's a factor when I want to upgrade to my console, though. I want to throw all that out the window and start from scratch on the PlayStation. So that was a factor for me, but like brand in general, I think Xbox does have a strong brand. It's kind of associated with online multiplayer. It's kind of associated with shooters and just stuff more mature stuff like that. Now, it's also very branded towards, I would say, a more Western audience. As we know, the Xbox does not really exist in Japan. It's really, really, really struggling over there. Although China...
At all. Almost
no one has bought one. But in China, I think it has potential. But so right now, I mean, I think that's all those things are kind of what encapsulates Xbox. So I guess that's a reason to maybe buy it. But... it's interesting that brand doesn't appear on any of the other ones.
You're right, and that's what I was going to say, is that I always was under the impression that Nintendo and Sony were the ones with really, really hardcore
bigger
fan
brand
bases.
than Xbox. Because Nintendo and Sony have both been around way longer than Xbox has.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that is
But I guess that... I guess it's just that brand loyalty as far as, like... I remember when the Xbox came out, like... it was that awesome green and black, Doom machine with the big ass controller. Like, it was like, this is the game station. Like, this is where you go to play games. And so it was very iconic in its beginning. And the 360,
and it felt more like an adult thing, which it really wasn't. It was more like a juvenile thing. This giant black box with a giant green X on it. But it felt more mature and more adult. And I guess maybe that has something to do with it. Whereas if you'll notice on the PlayStation, number 5 on PlayStation was what the family wants. The Wii U is better for kids. Neither one of those appear on the Xbox One for whatever reason.
That's right. Maybe an older demographic there.
So that might be part of it, yeah.
Yeah, so the next one is innovative features. And I'm not really sure. Like, I guess the television features could be considered innovative.
I mean, I'd say compared to the PS4 and Wii U, the Xbox does a lot more different things. Like, I mean, you have Kinect. You have all the Kinect stuff. You have where you can pause the apps. You can snap the apps to the side of the screen. You have all that stuff, which, I mean, now Sony, they have things that Xbox doesn't have. And, I mean, the whole Wii U console with the tablet and everything, I guess you could argue as being innovative. No other game console really has that. So that's kind of strange. Once again, it's kind of hard to like tell exactly like if you could ask these people who are taking this poll and be like, what innovative features? You know, like learn exactly what they are, what is, you know, attracting them. Instead, you just kind of have these broad categories and you don't really know what all is making up that data. But
yeah, those monthly updates are really exciting. I'm a person who likes new things, and I feel like I'm getting new stuff every month, where I think with PlayStation firmware updates are more sparse.
They roll out much slower. And then Wii U, I don't really know I don't know what they do with the Wii U. I don't know what they update that.
We'll get to that. But and then the last one, or the last two, is exclusive games and content, and then fun factor.
Oh, you skipped faster processing power.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, number 3 is faster processing power.
Okay, now here's another important. Faster processing power over what? The 360?
I guess the 360.
I guess.
So
okay,
maybe.
that's. I mean, obviously, I guess it's a more powerful machine. I think that's a given for all of these. So I don't really understand. I mean, I guess that's a reason to upgrade. Is it's graphically more powerful, but that's kind of seems like an obvious thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are overall decision factors.
Yeah.
Like these are the reasons
so that
makes
people
sense. Purchase them.
Just a more powerful machine in general. That, of course, that's going to be a reason why you want to upgrade.
Oh yeah, and one thing to bear in mind is that Nielsen is like 100% random. So we a lot of times in the gaming community get in this echo chamber where we all share the same views and opinions on a lot of different things, but there's a much larger audience out there, and I think something like faster processing power, while it sounds lame and obvious to us, like that is a definite consideration that people take in when they're about to drop $400 on something new, especially considering a lot of the games are coming out on both consoles. You know, they feel like, why do I need an Xbox One? I can play Destiny, I can play all these games on the previous one. Like, do we need it? And so I think that it is legitimized there. But lastly, is exclusive games and content. I'm really surprised that didn't come up higher, especially considering the holiday season with like Halo, Master Chief Collection, and Sunset Overdrive. And then finally is Fun Factor. Like, what are your view on those two? Is there like anything beyond that?
I mean, exclusive games and content, pretty strong showing on Microsoft compared to it's not even on Sony's. And Nintendo with Mario and Zelda and everything else they have actually comes down one spot lower than the exclusive games and contents on Microsoft consoles. So it is kind of strange. I would expect those to be a little higher. I would honestly expect that to appear on the PlayStation side of things. But I mean, this is only the top 5 factors.
Yeah, top 5.
Not the top 6 or 7. So who knows what those were? And once again, I mean, these aren't. You can only say so much and like gauge so much from this. I'm sure they were like it was a relatively small polling number. It's not like but they try and estimate, bigger trends and things like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, exclusive games content. I think Microsoft has a pretty strong lineup. I mean, just as strong, if not stronger, than anyone else. Why it is the highest on Microsoft's console as opposed to the other consoles, I don't really know. But the fun factor, I don't know what that means. I guess we can try and define what that means. Like Mario Kart is fun, Halo is fun. So
yeah, I guess it's mainly just like, are the games?
Yeah,
fun
I mean,
to
I guess
play?
so.
Like,
I guess
does it have good games?
PlayStation 4 isn't fun. Zero fun over there in Sony's corner.
It's got a Blu-ray player though.
But it does have a Blu-ray player. That's very important.
Number 2. But anyways, we'll get to that in a second. But so let me ask you this question. As an Xbox One owner who does most of your gaming on the Xbox One, do you agree with this list? Is there something that you would have added to this list or removed?
I mean, I guess I agree with it. Like, I mean, these are all determining, except for maybe fun factor, because I don't know what that means. I mean, I think all games are fun, so it's just kind of another given one. But yeah, I mean, I think the exclusives, if I was doing this poll myself, I think the exclusives would be a little higher. I think the innovative features would be a little higher. While the faster processing power and all that stuff is kind of, to me, that's like obvious that yes, I want a new console because it's stronger than the other console. But more importantly for me, it's the games. Like, I want to play the new games that aren't going to be possible on the other consoles. So, I mean, I would put exclusive games, I think, probably at the top. And like I said with brand earlier, I think it played a factor in me wanting to get an Xbox over a PlayStation. How much? I don't really know, but if the PlayStation and Xbox were tied, I think me being just having all that stuff on Xbox already would make me lean more towards the Xbox side, which I think is actually kind of what happened when I was kind of weighing my decision on what I should get. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I find it interesting that brand was number one, especially considering that Microsoft, you know, they don't like to talk about this, but when they first announced the Xbox One, you know, it was a huge just mistake. Like, everything was wrong. And a lot of people felt betrayed. I know that both you and I had even considered, oh, okay, PlayStation 4 will be our launch.
Oh yeah,
machines.
we definitely were thinking about it.
And I you know, the brand of Microsoft kind of slapped their fans in the face. So I find it interesting. Now, we all know, you know, the story goes they reversed everything. Phil's doing a great job over there. But it's really interesting that came up number one, because I guess that maybe weeded out the not like super fans of Xbox, and so Sony PlayStation 4 is performing better because maybe it's getting a lot of those middle of the road people who they don't care, they just want to play Destiny, like or whatever the hip multi-console game is. You know, they jumped over to Sony PlayStation 4, so I think now is like a more core Microsoft audience, because they're not people that are going to be swayed by like you know, a decision like that. A lot of people felt insulted by that, and so they left the brand for good. So I think that might have been why it pushed brand up, but who knows?
Possibly.
So that's Xbox One. Anything you want to add on that? I think it's a good list.
Let's move. You want to move on to Wii U or PlayStation next?
Let's do PlayStation, just because they're so close to each other. Number one, better resolution. I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's long been a talking point among gamers, and I think just Sony as well. They definitely have played up that fact that the PlayStation 4 is a little stronger than the Xbox One, has better resolution, the games just look a little nicer. It's honestly not a huge difference, but when, you know, you're spending the same amount of money, why not get the one that performs a little better?
More money now.
Well, yeah, now it's more money, but at the time...
But I'm sure this was conducted before.
Yeah, at the time it was the same. So yeah, is it number one in my personal book? Not really. It looking slightly better is not a huge factor for me. But it would be up there. Now, number two, the Blu-ray player. We had talked about this before.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because the PlayStation 3 was a Blu-ray player. And the Xbox is a Blu-ray player. So why is it such a determining factor? Like, when you're buying a PS4, you're like, you have a checklist and you're looking, you're like, is it a Blu-ray player? Yes, I really need a Blu-ray player. Let's spend $400. That I don't understand, like, where that logic comes from. Like, Blu-ray, you can buy a Blu-ray player for like $30, so I don't know why that's like such a big factor. I mean, I know it was on PlayStation 3. It was a big factor because no one had Blu-ray players yet.
You're right about that. And I think that is it.
But that doesn't make it... But why now? Why is it still like that?
Well, I think because people who bought into PS3 we're buying into technology that wasn't fully there yet. Like Blu-ray has really come around in the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years. But that previous generation was, 7 years long. So these people kind of early adopted Blu-ray, and they invested a lot of money into these collections of Blu-ray collections. So I feel like that's the only way I could explain that. Like, they're like, oh, it has a Blu-ray player just like my PS3 did. Good, my entire collection's not null. And Xbox honestly didn't do much. Like, they didn't advertise much that it is a Blu-ray player. Like, they just mentioned. I remember they mentioned it when they were like going over the features.
Obvious. Like, what else would it be? Like, I don't.
Well, for the longest time, they were. Microsoft even did the HD DVD player. It was like they chose the opposite side.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's strange that appeared number 2, and I definitely think that goes to show that this poll was not just gamers. This is like random people.
Yeah.
And since this PlayStation 4 audience is so much bigger, you get a lot more people who are just there for basic features, and that's it. They don't care about much more. They heard on the news that it's higher resolution. It's got a couple more gigabits than the Xbox One, and it plays my Blu-rays, so whatever, ship it. But number 3 is game library.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Because it's game library instead of exclusive games and content.
Now, I guess to me that makes sense. Well, maybe not actually. Now, if you look at like PS3 gets way more. Like Xbox has a 360 has tons of games, but PS3 gets a lot of Eastern games, like Japanese games, JRPGs, a lot of the kind of really quirky stuff that Xbox doesn't get. Now, I guess maybe like that is maybe what they mean. There's more content, more variety of stuff on PlayStation, maybe, which is true. Like, that's true, and I would expect that. They're getting a lot of indies. PlayStation 4, yeah, PlayStation 4 also has a lot of indie games, more so than Microsoft right now. So yeah, I think you're right. That kind of does, in the PlayStation portion of this poll, replaces the exclusive games and content for just more stuff in general. More games. Well,
and another thing too is that PlayStation Plus service was doing the free games long before Games for Gold were, and so I think people bought into that because that was a huge consumer win, and it created a great trend that I'm so glad that Microsoft copied and they continue to support, because being able to boot up your Xbox and have games ready to play right then and there and getting free ones every month is awesome, and PlayStation's been enjoying that for far longer, so that makes sense to me. Faster processing power, we've been over that.
Talked about that. Yep, so that's...
Yeah.
Okay, yep, that makes
sense. What
the
family wants. This is really strange to me.
I don't know what that means.
That must just be powerful word of mouth advertising. Like, that has to be it. Like, the kids, either kids or teenagers, hear about it, all their friends have it at school, and that's the one that they want, so they nag them. Because it's, at the end of the day, if it's what the family wants, like, that means that someone else is making the choice.
Making the decision, or collectively, they are all making the decision.
Yeah, and the financial decision maker is responding to that. So to me, it assumes that a younger audience is going for that, but that's not necessarily true, because there's a lot of older fans who are into PlayStation as a brand as well. So I don't know. That's a mystery to me. Do you have any possible explanation for that?
I have no idea. I think you covered it. It's some collective decision by the family that's what we decided we want, and I think what you were saying, word of mouth. That's just what they've heard about. They know PlayStation is associated with gaming, and so that's why they get it. That's the only thing I can think of. All right, ready to go to Wii U?
Let's do Wii U.
Coming in at number 1, Wii U is by far the funnest video game console that you can buy.
It's got the fun factor
right now, with the number 1 fun
maximum
factor.
Funness. That's a mystery to me.
I disagree.
See,
Mario Kart,
to me, what makes it
Super Smash Brothers,
what makes it fun for me is the exclusive games and content. But that came up so much lower on the list. That was number 5.
Yeah, I think to me, if I was doing that poll, exclusive game and content would be number 1 on Wii U, way over anything else. Because for the past several console generations, the only games I have for my Wii, for my GameCube, for my 3DS are Nintendo games. Like straight up. I maybe get one or two other ones, but they're almost always exclusively Nintendo games. I buy those consoles to play Nintendo games. Definitely would be number one on for me. It's surprising to see it at number 5, but
it's okay. We got a strong number 2. It's better for the kids, man.
I mean, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Just Nintendo has been, branded at this point as kind of a family-oriented, a kid-friendly video game console and company. And so, yeah, I mean, people know the Wii is what you bought if you wanted to play Mario and Wii Sports and all that, kind of family-friendly stuff. And the Wii U, I think, has inherited that, even though they are trying to get away a little bit from that by offering some other mature titles. You got like Bayonetta, you got Devil's Third coming out, and some other stuff came out on it for as well. But for the most part, I definitely say it's a younger audience that probably overall is buying the Wii U, even though we all love the Wii U as well and we buy the Wii U. I think, parents buying Wii U for their kids is probably makes up the bulk of where those system sales are coming from.
I would agree. That and then Nintendo diehard fans.
Yes.
Of course. But price and value, that one makes total sense
it's
because
cheaper.
this thing is the cheapest. Yeah. If you're just looking for something to entertain the kids, I think that plays in with better for kids, because if I was a parent who didn't want my kids playing super violent games that, they love Call of Duty, kids love Call of Duty, they love that kind of violence. But if I'm a parent who wants to keep that away, just get the one console that doesn't ever get those games. Like, force them to choose Mario, Zelda, the safer plays. So, and it's cheaper. So, price value, right on. Backwards compatibility.
People really care about backwards compatibility.
They really do. I'm sorry, but I know that when Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out, they had this huge hizzy about it. But if let me just say, if one of the two consoles were backwards compatible and the other wasn't, I guarantee that console would have won whatever war.
No, and backwards compatibility would have been number 1 on this list on Xbox One or PlayStation 4. It would almost certainly have broken the top 5. I think it would have been pretty high up.
Yeah, and PlayStation 4 is trying to address that with PlayStation Now.
Yeah. But
again, that's me rebuying all my games. I don't get any credit for the games I've already bought. I think Microsoft's more looking at the cross-buy, but Sony's doing the cross-buy, cross-play stuff too, so whatever. I guess from this point forward, we'll maybe have that problem solved, but who knows?
But yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
People
Wiimote
put a lot
big.
of attention on backwards compatibility. They don't like having to rebuy stuff. They like being able to play their older games without having to have two things hooked up. It makes total sense.
Yeah. And then exclusive games content should have been way higher.
You would think it would be way higher. I mean, like we said, Mario, Smash Brothers, Zelda, tons of really awesome stuff that we buy consoles for. But like I said, I mean, it's surprising that it's not higher, but it's also surprising that it's not on Sony's at all, and that it is like where it is on Microsoft's. So I don't know, just in general, for me personally, exclusive games and content is a very large reason of why I buy certain systems. And so for it to not even be on the Sony poll in the top 5, for it to be now number 4 on the Xbox and number 5 on the Wii U is just overall kind of strange to me.
I guess it's just, I mean, obviously,
yeah,
I think for gamers it is, but for not, people who don't self-identify as a gamer on, like a core or hardcore level, like they must not be important to them,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think those people care more about backwards compatibility, price, things like that, more so maybe than the exclusive games.
So let me ask you this: now that we've gone through all 3 consoles, what do you think overall of this study? Do you think that this is something that might change in the future? And at this point, do you think that there's anything that that if you were to try and perform this study, what might you have done differently? What might you have focused on more?
I mean, I think
what are your impressions of the study?
I think it'll definitely change. I think we're already seeing Xbox like graphics wise now that they've no longer made the Kinect mandatory. Developers are getting more power out of the Xbox One. You're already going to see
more power.
Yeah, you're already going to see that like resolution gap between the two go away.
Oh God, do you remember Resolution Gate? That was a
I think
hashtag
that was the
for a
thing
while.
that happened. I don't know why that was.
Kill it with
I don't
fire.
know why that was a thing. So you'll see that. I think you'll see that decrease, and I don't think that will be as a big of a feature. And honestly, like the PlayStation Now is getting some features similar to Xbox, like being able to suspend apps and things like that.
Yeah.
So
they're starting to converge.
So maybe that will go down on Xboxes as well. And then maybe once we have Halo, which is, kind of Microsoft's big one, and things like that, maybe exclusive games will come up. Maybe when Uncharted 4 comes out, if they redid this poll, more people would think that was a determining reason why they bought a PS4. So you'd see exclusive games appear on that Sony side of the poll. Now, I don't actually know, how they did the poll. I didn't read all. I'm looking at the document right now that has all the reasons and things like that, but I don't know exactly what their methods were. So,
well, I mean,
besides just polling random people.
Normally they send you a packet in the mail, and then you're like, yeah, I'd like to opt in. This was specifically from their games division, so this is people who know how to do this. But yeah, they probably poll people and they say, what consoles do you own? And then they would probably pick people who own both multiple consoles and only one console, and then from there you get sent a survey. If you choose to opt in, you get sent a survey and kind of ask you what it is. But they are truly anonymous, and that's one of their staples. They've been used by the TV industry for years for ratings, because it's it's truly anonymous and it's truly equal. It's completely random.
Yeah.
There's no system to it. It's just completely random people. So I think that's neat. I think it's an interesting study, but I definitely don't agree with some of the positioning. But again, I think that's because this
you
is
don't
not
have to
just
agree with
core
it.
gamers.
That's just what happened. That's just what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's just yeah. That's what it is. This is the facts, people. This is a study. They did their work.
Now, I mean, yes, it is just one study. It's a small sample, so it's not like it represents everything, and is not the ultimate truth. But you get some interesting insights.
No, this is the ultimate truth. This is it. If you didn't buy your Xbox One for your brand, throw it away.
True.
Throw it away.
But yeah, I mean, it gives you some interesting insights into kind of just the console wars, if you want to call them that, and just sales figures and things like that. Just kind of see how people's purchasing habits are.
That's cool. So, for our viewers out there, what do you think? Do you agree with this study? If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. If you are on the podcast, feel free to or if you're listening through the iTunes podcast, feel free to tweet us at Fanboy Explosion. Go to fanboyexplosion.com, email us fanboyexplosion@gmail.com. Let us know. Do you agree with this? If you have any questions about this study, we'll be glad to answer them in the future. So let's wrap this up. We're going to take a quick break. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check back. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We'll have new episodes going up all the time. If you're listening through the iTunes podcast app, hang around. We'll be back after this break with the next topic. So, see ya.